Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are relaxing out here on the porch, just enjoying a nice fall evening. It's autumn's finally here. The leaves are starting to change. The temperature is changing, and I'm ready for it because I just got back from Florida and it was hot down there when we were fishing. So I'm ready for some fall, a little bit of hunting, and a little bit of off time. But I wanted to, before we kind of put 2023 in the rear view, I wanted to kind of give you guys a recap of my 2023 Bassmaster EQ season and just my thoughts on the season, how I feel like it went and all of that. So let's go ahead and dive into that in a second. But first off, I want to say thank you guys for all of the support. Everybody out there that watches these videos, that enjoys my content, that subscribes to the channel, and shares the content, I really appreciate you. And also all the support as far as like well wishes during tournaments and things like that. And also, just dropping comments and asking for certain content. All of those things are a great way to support the channel and myself, and I'm just very honored that you guys would spend time to follow me and to watch this content. So thank you so much. And on that note, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, just consider it. If you enjoy the content, I'm going to keep doing it regardless. But if you do enjoy the content, that's a great way to support the channel, is hit that subscribe button, like the content, comment on the videos, and also share it with your friends if it's relevant. So just consider doing those things to support the channel. But let's dive right into the 2023 season. As you guys know, previously, before this season, I was fishing the MLF Pro Circuit, which was formerly the FLW Tour. And, for the last few years, leading up to 2022 on the Pro Circuit, I felt like, things were not necessarily going the right direction. I just didn't feel like the future was very certain, with that league. I'm not trying to cast shade. I'm just kind of expressing my gut feeling about, the future with fishing the Pro Circuit. And so I was always kind of thinking about, what my future should look like. And then Bassmaster came out with their EQ format with the Opens, which was completely right up my alley, because previously, to make the Elite Series, you had to fish one of 3 divisions, and which had 3 tournaments in it, and you had to finish in the top 3. To finish in the top 3 out of 200 and something anglers is crazy difficult. And I don't want to like downgrade anybody's experience making the Elite Series, because it takes a ton of skill. But I feel like when you're talking about 3 events, you essentially have 6 days. You have to fish perfectly. You have to have 6 perfect days. There's a little component of luck involved with that. Not always, but sometimes you just get on a run and things happen that you just can't explain. And I think that happens a lot with that old format to finish in the top 3. So there's a ton of really, really good anglers that couldn't make it in that format. But when they introduced having the EQ, where you have to finish in the top 9 out of fishing all of the Bassmaster Open, so all 9 of them, that really opened up the door for a more realistic points race. Okay, 9 tournaments, you can average out a bad finish or 2. Okay, with 9 tournaments, so you could still make the Elite Series under the EQ format with having a couple bad days. Okay, so you could still survive it. You have to fish really good. You have to be on your A game, but it wasn't as insurmountable and predicated on luck as I felt like the old format lended itself to, or could be. And so after they announced it, I went to ICAST, talked to my sponsors, and they all pretty much, rallied with me, and they're like, "Let's do it. We support you if you want to go to the Bassmaster Opens to fish the EQ to make the Elite Series." So we made that move, and going into the 2023 season, I recognized that I was probably putting too much on my plate overall. Changing leagues, we had to build this house. This house did not exist in November this last year. There wasn't even a slab at the beginning of November. And so the house didn't exist. We were building the house. We were developing the property. We were moving out here with our fifth wheel to live out here. We were having a baby. We had a little baby Riley in March. And there was just so much going on, financial, challenges, just with the economy, how it is, and not necessarily making as much money from the payouts, and the opens. All of those things were I knew going to be a big challenge, but I thought I could kind of compartmentalize it and still focus on fishing. And for the first two events, I felt like I did a good job. Eufaula, I finished 40th. And then Toledo Bend, I think I finished 24th. So two decent tournaments. But then mid-season, things started to kind of go downhill. I started to really notice that my mind wasn't on the game. I was constantly thinking about all the challenges we had at home, all those stressors. Building a house is incredibly stressful, and we're going to have to do it again one day because we want to put a house on the hill up there, but I don't want to do it anytime soon. And I think it got to me mid-season. And that's not the only reason. I don't want to give excuses for bad finishes, but I knew that I didn't have my head in the game, and ended up having three really, really bad finishes kind of mid-season. We had Bugs Island, finished 160-something there. We had Eufaula, Oklahoma, finished 160 or 170 there. And then we had the St. Lawrence River, and we finished like a real deep, triple digit there. And I'll be honest, that crushed me. That was like a crushing blow. I've never internalized, poor finishes like that ever before. I usually be able to like just put those behind me and motivate me even more towards the next tournament, but it honestly slowed me down, and it really just was a hard year to kind of push through those negative feelings out of the feeder. The feeder's going, but yeah, just going through those negative thoughts, and just not having my head in the game really affected me. And those tournament finishes obviously took me completely out of the points race for the EQ. So really, at that point, I was like, maybe I shouldn't even fish the rest of the tournaments. But I ended up going to Alaska. As you guys know, I've been working in Alaska since 2005, and it's a great place for me to get perspective because it's with people that I really, really, love, and it's a place that is just so grand and special that it really lends itself to getting yourself out of your own head and putting things in perspective. So went up there, got a little money in my pocket, came back with a renewed sense of like excitement about just getting out on the water and tournament fishing. And we came back, got 14th at Watts Bar, 35th at Lake of the Ozarks, and then 29th at Harris Chain. So we ended up, as far as the points race, we ended up in 45th. Terrible points race. Nowhere near the top 9, and as far as the points, we were miles from finishing the top 9. But if you took those 3 tournaments that I did really, really bad out and just looked at the other 6, I actually would be right there as far as the average to make the top 9. But obviously, we're not talking about 6 tournament series. We're talking about 9. But those other 6 tournaments were pretty solid. One of them I didn't make a check in. That was Wheeler. I finished 67th there. So I guess really, if I'm to take stock in my season fishing the EQ format for the first time, I would have to say that as far as my grade for the points race, have to be a D minus. But as far as from a check perspective, and finishing consistently in that check range, I'd have to say, 5 out of 9 tournaments is pretty strong, fishing the opens. And so I'd have to give myself like a B plus or something like that. I didn't get any top 10s, but I, had a couple. I beat my best previous open finish twice this year. So that's good. So it really, wasn't a bad year as far as that metric. Now, how do I feel overall about the EQs and kind of how I'm leaving the year? Overall, I feel really, really good. I feel better than I've felt in the last 2 years, I'll be honest with you. I feel good about my fishing, number one. I feel like I'm fishing with more confidence, after the last few events. And I feel like one of the things that I've been battling with, I got to turn down our baby monitor here, not all the way off, but I feel like, a lot of us have really started to get soured by the rhetoric about forward-facing sonar and like how much we need to fish forward-facing sonar to do well. And I fell into that trap too this year. But the last few events made me realize and recognize, because the first 2 events I fished my strengths, the last 3 events I fished my strengths, and the one that the Wheeler event I fished my strengths, and all of those I did solid in. So I can still compete with my skill set. Yes, I want to go out there and learn new skills with forward-facing sonar and try to fold those into the mix a little bit. But until I gain confidence in those forward-facing sonar techniques, I'm not going to change a thing. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing that has always worked, and it will continue to work. It doesn't work. It's not as potent, but it still can get me to the Elite Series. So I'm ending the season with on a positive note about what my skill set is and how relevant it is in today's tournament fishing. So that's a good thing. And as far as like how I feel about the EQs, I love the format because I think that it's a better it's a better points race. Okay, I think it's a more reasonable points race, and I think that it brings out the anglers that are the most consistent better than any other format they've had before. The only thing that I will say, well, there's 2 things. Number one, payouts are terrible. I'll just be honest. But we all expected that. And then fishing 9 events without that like financial carrot is really hard. Being away from home for 9 events is very difficult when you're not in the points race, especially. But again, which one do you want? Do you want to go back to the old format where luck has to be involved, or do you want to pay your dues with a 9 tournament points race to be able to make the Elite Series and feel like it's a more reasonable route? I'd probably go for the latter. I think that 9 tournaments is really good. Riley's starting to get real fussy. But anyways, yeah, I enjoyed the EQs. I'm going to fish the EQs next year. And overall, I think that we ended on a really solid note. So, anyways, guys, those are just my thoughts on my 2023 season. Let me know what you think about the EQ format. Have you enjoyed watching the points race and seeing all these young anglers come up? And moving to the Elite Series, I think it was a really interesting format overall, and I think it really worked out very well. So, anyways, I do want to hear your comments on that. So thank you guys so much for watching. The key thing, the last thing I want to mention here is that, and this is something that I kind of lost this season, part way through the season, is trusting the process. I talk about it. I say it on every video, but it's easier said than done sometimes. But ultimately, what really got me out of some bad competitive places this year was trusting the process. So I just want to emphasize that as we close this video. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out on the water. Take care.